Hi everyone, I had a really good question, which was how do I adjust the length on the diamond drape dress? Because of the position of the pockets, this is a little bit more tricky than a standard pattern, so I thought it would be a good idea to walk you through this step by step. So when we're adjusting a length, the very first thing we need to know is what height is this pattern drafted for. So this pattern is drafted for someone who is 5'6". So take the front pattern piece, and it doesn't matter which version you're sewing, and I'm going to use the multi-size pattern here, so this is the largest size. Place this in the correct position. So the correct position is the underarm point needs to be covering the top of your bra, and then bring that across to the center front like this, and just double check against a mirror that this is sitting in the correct position. What you need to do now is hold this with one hand, and on the other hand just drop that down the side. Have a look in the mirror, and what you want to see is that your knuckles here should be approximately the position of the lower notch here. So we want our fingers to be sitting like this, because the distance from here to here is the distance from the underarm to the top of our bra. So that's how we want to check the pocket position, and that's how you'll be able to tell how much to take off lengthwise if you want to shorten this from the upper body area. Now take this back to the mirror and have a look at the length. Adjust that up and down and work out how much length you need to adjust this by to make it shorter. Because of this pattern, it's a really good idea to take out the length above and then below that pocket position. So the reason we want to split the adjustment into two is simply to maintain that diamond shape. So for the purpose of this, what I'm going to do is assume you want to take out 2 inches or 5 centimeters above the pocket, and then 2 inches or 5 centimeters below the pocket. And it's a good idea to take out the amount in even amounts. So when we want to make a length adjustment, we can't affect this area here at all. This is the pocket and this is the width that creates the drape. So we need to maintain the position. So what that means is anything from this area here is out of bounds. We can't take any length out of here unless you want to do some serious pattern adjustment work. So we can take out the length above this notch here, and we can take out the length below this notch here. In actual fact, the easiest place to take out the bottom length is below this notch here. So the fastest way to make a length adjustment in the lower part of this garment is to take your set square and come to the hemline. At the center front, measure up how much you want to take off. So I'm going to place a small mark which shows me 5 centimeters or 2 inches. Then take your original front pattern piece and place it so that the center front line matches. Now just redraw in your new hemline. And just come around the corner for the hem notch slightly. Now what we need to do is rearrange this piece so that it's on a slight angle. And what we want to do is make sure that that touches the original pattern here. And all we need to do is redraw in the side seam position here, just tapering it nice and gently to our original marks, so we don't affect the pocket area in the lower part of this garment at all. For the upper part of this garment, it's slightly trickier. We need to make sure we avoid this area here, and I always find it's a good idea to work about midway between the underarm point and the point that we don't want to interfere with. So around about halfway, use your set square and place a mark in, and then measure the distance that you want to take out down from that mark. So there's another 2 inches or 5 centimeters there. What we want to do is just extend these marks up. Now just like before, what we can do is redraw in the upper garment area. So what we're doing now is, instead of that position being there, effectively we're dropping it down 5 centimeters. So if I was working with paper, what I'd be doing would be cutting through this line here and placing it on top of this line here, just to remove that excess. So this is what you're going to end up with. We're just going to redraw this to show you what it will look like before we do the next adjustment. So here is our underarm point here. And just like we did in the lower part of the garment, what we need to do now is to re-angle this back nice and gently towards the area here and just redraw in that side seam. The main thing we want to do with our adjustments is to not change this notch at all if we can possibly help it. We want to make sure that area is the same. So that's the front part of our pattern adjusted. Now we need to work out how to do the same with the back. So now let's work on the back. What I've done here is I've drawn the back over the top of the front in blue. And you can clearly see the pocket position here. So this is the equivalent area we don't want to interfere with. As you can tell at the hemline, that's the same adjustment as the front, so very straightforward, but we have a different adjustment to make in the upper body of the garment. So I've drawn the back here, the back neck area in blue, so you can see the line here. Now we need to drop this down by 5 centimeters or 2 inches, just like we did the upper area. Now bear in mind there's more than one way to create this adjustment. This is just the quickest and easiest one I would do if I was doing a length adjustment. So I'll just pop that up there so you can see what we're going to do. Take your set square or a ruler and measure down from the center back neck the amount you want to adjust, so 2 inches or 5 centimeters, and place a mark, and then take the pattern piece that you're working with and place it on that mark, and make sure that that is parallel to the center line. So we want this line here to be sitting on it. Now just redraw that back neckline in. I better choose another colour so you don't get confused. Right, so I'm going to redraw this neckline and the side seam line in red. So come down and redraw around the upper part of this garment. And as you can tell, this isn't interfering with the garment here. So come around to this position here, and you can tell it's sitting on top of the front line, so we know we're in the correct position, and that when these sew together, they'll sew together properly. Now just like we did that angle before, take your pattern piece, place it on that underarm position, and then angle it back towards the notch at the upper pocket area, and just redraw in that side seam. So take your tape measure and measure the front seam from the notch here up. Now I have 30 centimeters, which is 11 3/4 inch. Then take your tape measure and measure from the back notch to the underarm, and I have 32 centimeters, which is 12 1/2 inches. So clearly these two pieces won't sew together. So the last step in our process is just to take a small wedge out of the back so that we can bring this up so that these seams will sew together, because clearly the rest of our pattern will balance. I can't interfere with the pocket area at all, but I can fiddle with the width of this. So what I need to do, I have the ability to adjust any area from here to here, and clearly I can adjust the area from here to here. So what this means is I need to drop a line from this seam here to this seam here to adjust the width up to create that wedge. So what I'm going to do is draw a line from around about midway point between this notch here and here, all the way across to the seam on this side. Now if I was working with paper, I would cut through this, leaving this as a pivot point, and bring this up 2 centimeters. So what this means is I want to pick up the first line that I drew and put it on top of the second line, and then if I need to, I'll just true up this back line to suit. So that's how we do the pattern adjustment for the length on this garment. So just double check your pattern before you go ahead and cut this out. What we're looking for is that we want the seam on the side here to be the same length here. This pocket sews to there. So then we want to make sure that these 2 measurements here, as you can tell, when we put the front and the back together, we want this lower area to be the same for both the front and the back. So thanks for joining me for this video, and I look forward to you joining me for my next video soon.